And welcome back to Music Free Static. I hope you're having a fabulous day, and it's time for another really late movie review. That's right, where I talk about a really old movie that I really like. And today, I want to talk about the movie City of Angels. Okay, now, first, let me lead into this a little bit. I'm a romantic, okay? I have been forever, right? I love a good rom com. Movies like Sleepless in Seattle or What Women Want or You've Got Mail, right? These are all amazing, okay? But one of my favorite romantic movies is City of Angels, okay? Now, I'm going to be talking full spoilers, which is a thing that you may need to be aware of, okay? So if you want to see this and unspoiled and then come back and hear me talk about it, that's fine. But just to let you know, I will be spoiling the movie. Now, City of Angels is rated PG-13, okay? It's got a little bit of language. Actually, surprisingly little, okay? Once, or maybe twice, somebody drops a little bit of profanity, okay? And it has some adult situations, okay? So, be advised, all right? Now, all of that out of the way. City of Angels is what I would consider a romantic drama, okay? Or maybe a romantic tragedy, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. It stars Nicolas Cage and Meg Ryan, okay? Now, Nick Cage plays an angel, okay? Now, angels in this movie, and these are angels in the Christian sense of the word, okay? But angels in this movie are not winged beings, right? They look like people. They wear like long black coats, and they have basically no sense of touch or smell or taste or any of those types of things. Okay, that is actually surprisingly pertinent in the movie. But as an angel, they have jobs. Okay, and I don't mean like they're working at McDonald's. I mean they're out doing work to try to bring peace. Right? They help people who die and help bring them home, right? You see them in hospitals, you know, and you just get the feeling that they're there helping people deal with strife and those hard things, right? There's one scene where Nick Cage's character is talking to a friend, another angel, and they're in a convenience store just talking about different things, what it was like to be seen by a human, because that happens very rarely, but on occasion. And somebody tries to rob the convenience store they're at. And so one of them goes around and just calms the cashier. It's like, okay, don't panic, everything's good. The other one goes and calms the robber so that he doesn't go off and start shooting people, right? Doesn't stop the robbery, but it keeps it from getting worse. And, it's, that sort of thing, because they won't take away the greatest gift that God gave to his children, which is free will. Okay. And that's a theme that comes up throughout the movie. All right. Now, I know I didn't explain that particularly well, I suppose, but that's sort of the gist. So you want to get I don't know, I'm not going to say the fantasy aspect, but that's the mystical aspect of this movie, right? All right, so now let's talk about Meg Ryan's character. She plays a surgeon named Maggie who is dealing with the loss of her patients, okay? She's a heart surgeon, and she was operating on this guy, and he dies on her table. Okay, and they make a point throughout the aftermath that she did everything right, but he still died. And it was in the course of her trying to save her patient, as she looks up and looks into the eyes of Seth, Nick Cage's character. Doesn't totally see him, like doesn't see him. It's like, oh yeah, why are you in my operating room? But feels like there's something there. Okay. Maggie is an atheist, okay? And is questioning, especially after she's lost her patience. What if there's something bigger? What if she isn't in control in the operating room? At one point, she's talking with her current boyfriend, who is also a doctor, another heart surgeon, I think. And they talk about, hey, we're fighting for life. What are we fighting against? Right? So that type of thing. So she's dealing with falling hard, okay? An emotional fall, right? She was the top of her game and she loses a patient, and now she's questioning a lot of what's going on in her life, okay? And Seth, having seen this and seen how much she fought to try to keep him alive, and the fact that she saw him, wants to help her through her pain, okay? And through him trying to help her and her trying to rediscover herself, we learn more about what it means to be human, okay? And ultimately, this is a story about love. I said it's a romantic movie, okay? This is a love story, right? And it is a story about love. It's a story about free will. And to a lesser extent, it's a story about faith, though it's interesting because based off of all the stuff that I've said, you might go into this, say, oh, it's just another God is great and we should all, convert. And while I tend to believe that, yes, God is great, and yes, conversion to God's church might be awesome. But that's not the focus of the story. The focus is free will and love, and there is something worth living for. It's a study of humanity in a lot of ways. And it shows up in a couple of aspects, right? Maggie she's in a sort of a loveless relationship with this other doctor. Yes, they've been seeing each other, but it seems like it's more out of a way just to, I don't know, it's just there, right? It's more like something to do rather than something that is really meaningful, okay? But what's interesting is Maggie has another patient, okay? This is the sort of her get back on the horse patient, right? This is the guy who was next scheduled surgery on her list. The hospital postponed it so she could have basically take a weekend and get herself back together. Okay. And so, okay, she comes here to operate, and he's getting a bypass, partly because he's just, as he describes himself later, sort of a hedonist. The dude, he is loving life in a lot of ways. And he's snuck in a pint of Ben & Jerry's ice cream to eat in his hospital room, waiting for surgery on his heart because his diet hasn't been good, right? At one point he heads out to a restaurant after the surgery, and he's just loading up on everything. There's French toast and pancakes and just all of this stuff, right? But he is a former angel. He played this guy. Okay, his name is Nathaniel Messenger. Nathan, I think they call him a lot. Played by Dennis Franz. He's an angel that fell and is in because of love, right? He's going, Seth, while he's going through all of this crisis of, wait, he's having feelings for Maggie. Well, he's trying to help her. What's going on? And he meets Nathan, and it's like, what is going on? Why do you know I'm here and all of this stuff? And it's like, look, I was an angel. I fell. And when asked why, he pulls out his wallet and he starts flipping through the pictures of his family. You know, says, hey, this is my daughter. This is her jerk husband. You know, typical New Yorkers. I love my daughter. I'm not totally thrilled with the guy she picked, right? That type of thing. You know, here's the grandkids, and here's my wife. And he just gets all soft and mushy. And they talk about free will and how important it is that, hey, look, humans have free will. It's the greatest gift that humanity was given. And the angels were given it too. Right? That's the premise and the idea that, hey, you can choose what you want. So here's now Seth having to choose between this glorious eternity that he has or humanity to be with Anne, or be with Maggie, sorry. Anne was another doctor in the hospital. I got their names flipped. Anyway, but and that's sort of the overall, right, premise of where all of this is going is Seth falling in love with Maggie falling in love with Seth, for that matter. But all of the stuff that goes on around her, she's learning more about who she is, what she wants, I'm not necessarily what she believes in a like Christian faith perspective, but just what does she believe about herself, right? And as it goes through, it's just this, as these relationships are going, as she's dealing with the stress and depression of having lost her patients, and dealing with the fact that she has this sort of chronic insomnia. You know, how do you deal with tragedy and all of this stuff? It is amazingly touching. Okay. As I mentioned, I'm a romantic, right? One of the things, I'm going to go off a tangent here. I'm going to come back to it in a minute here, but one of the things I love about The Lord of the Rings, which is a tremendous story, it's the reason why I've got them on the shelf behind me, is that it's one of the reasons I like it, or one of the scenes I like, I guess. Sorry, as my mind is getting distracted by all the cool things and all of these stories. One of my favorite things about that is the Fellowship is leaving Lothlorien, and Galadriel is giving them all gifts. Okay. Gimli's gift, right? They don't have anything for him initially, and it's not because they are racist against dwarves, right? More accurately, she asks him, what would an elf give a dwarf, right? What do you want is sort of her question. Because, I mean, there is some animosity between them in their in the world that's been built. But Gimli, he asks for 3 hairs from Galadriel's head. Which, you know some history, this is actually a fairly big deal, though Gimli didn't know that. And wouldn't probably have known this. But she asks him what he would do with the hair. He says, okay. And he goes on about how he would encase it in crystal and gold and make it an heirloom of his house as a symbol of the friendship between dwarves and elves, and as an expression of that friendship and his love for Galadriel, and not necessarily love in a romantic sense, okay, but love in something a little deeper and more meaningful, okay. Coming back to City of Angels, there is a bit that follows that hits me in that same sort of, oh, this is awesome romantic feels area, okay? So we are going to get hard into spoiler territory now. So again, if you have not seen City of Angels or would like to see it before I really dive in here, now is your chance to pause and come back, okay? As you would expect, based off of what I've described so far, Seth does choose to fall to be with Maggie, okay? And it's rough. She has basically left him in a lot of ways. It's not so much that they were dating, but she realizes she needs to be with a human rather than an angel. Somebody who can, she wants somebody who can feel it when she touches him, who can understand her on that level. And she goes to get away from it all at her father's cabin up on Lake Tahoe. Okay. Well, when Seth falls, of course, he falls. He falls off a building, and he wakes up human, but also sort of beat up a little bit, bleeding and stuff. He goes to the hospital looking for her, runs into Anne, who was one of Maggie's friends at the hospital. And she asks him what happens to him. And he says, I fell. So, okay. You fall off a ladder. I fell in love. And yeah, it's easy to see, hey, this could hurt in a lot of ways, right? So we're not going to, love hurts, we should avoid it. No, not at all. But it was because he changed everything about himself because he was in love. Now, and I don't mean that in a, well, no one will accept you if you don't change. He gave up this celestial life because of love. Okay. He hitchhikes his way to Lake Tahoe and manages to find her. He shows up on her doorstep. She sees him and sees that, oh, the dude has been bleeding, right? He is human. And they get together, okay? In the biblical sense, okay? Hence the adult situations, okay? Just be advised. And they are now, he's feeling all of those things he've never felt before. Rain and touch and taste and what it's like just to take a shower, right? And to, just all of the stuff that's all new to him. She is wanting to show him the world, right? You can break into a Disney song here, right? She wants to show him everything, right? And be with him as they explore life together. So he's taking a shower. She's making breakfast and decides, you know what we really need are some pears. Because that's one of the things that they had sort of bonded over, right? She had gotten some pears. He asked her to describe what it tasted like. Okay. what it was like to eat a pear. So she decides she's going to go down to the market and buy a couple of pears. Right, very romantic type. Oh, this was one of those things that brought us together. We need to share it, so he knows. And as she's riding her bike back from the market, she ends up getting hit by a logging truck. Or more accurately, she hits the truck. Okay, it's not like the truck smashed her. It had pulled out. She didn't see it as she's racing down this hill on her bike, and bad things happen to Maggie at this point. So bad that she dies. So now here's Seth, who gave up his eternity as an angel for this woman who's now dead. Okay. And he's now going through, of course, all the stages of grief. And like most of humanity who's going through grief, there is an angel there to help him. And he says at one point, says, okay, I can't see you, but I know you're there. This is the same line that Nathan gave him when Seth showed up in his hospital room. And they start talking. It's like, and Seth is going on. Am I being punished? And it was his friend Cassiel, Cassiel, yeah, something like that, who he's been explaining all of his feelings and stuff with, right? Because you need the friend, so you could tell the audience how you're feeling, right? That type of thing. But his friend shows up, and Seth is all railing. He's like, wait, am I being punished? Cassiel's like, no, that's not how it works. It's like, no, this is life, man. It happens. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes bad things happen. But this isn't punishment. This is life. And before you drop it, life is pain, right? From Princess Bride, right? It's, he's coping with the loss of the woman he loved so much that he gave up eternity for. But he's asked a question. Seth has asked the question, if you had known this was going to happen, would you have done it? And the answer never fails to touch my soul. Okay? A lot of this in this movie gets me, a very stoic middle-aged man, to tear up. Okay? But this is one of those moments where it's not so much, I don't always tear up, but I get this feeling of warmth and love and amazingness. And yes, this is life. So I think I'm going to play a clip here of the answer, because honestly, Nick Cage is going to deliver this much better than I will. Okay. So let's roll that clip.
If you'd known this was going to happen, would you have done it?
I would rather have had one breath of her hair, one kiss of her mouth, one touch of her hand, than an eternity without it. One.
Isn't that amazing? Okay. Now, it's one of those moments. It's like, was it worth it? Right? Would you have given up this happiness, right? You gave up all of this. Was it worth it? Right? And it reminds me of a song by Garth Brooks, I think it is, the song's called The Dance. And it talks about if he had known what was coming up, known all of the pain that he was going to suffer because of his relationship, would he have done it? And knowing that he could miss all of that pain. And the thrust of the song is yes, he could have, but he then would have missed one of the most important parts of his life. And that's the message that we get from Seth, right? I would rather have one breath of her hair, one kiss of her mouth, one touch of her hand, than eternity without it. One. That it was that feeling, that line, that everything that is built up from this movie of Seth learning about love and life and humanity, Maggie learning about love and life and humanity, them coming together, right? Nathan's, all of his 30 years on earth now as a human after having been an angel, because of love and his life and his family and all of this. Was it worth it? If you knew this was going to happen, would you have done it? Yes, because it is worth it. And this hits me so hard. Okay. That said, it is one of my favorite movies. Okay. Now I have many favorite movies, but this is definitely one that I come back to a lot. And you know, when I rewatched this yesterday, I was in a little bit of a down mood. Okay. There's some ongoing stress at work. Nothing bad, but we're going through a lot of changes and it's giving me a little bit of anxiety. Okay. Because change is scary sometimes. Plus some other stresses in my life and that is going on, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm watching this movie again. And all of the everything that's going on with Maggie dealing with the loss of her patient, and how does she go on thinking she was all that in a bag of chips and falling to earth in a lot of ways because her patient died. Not because she did anything wrong, but because his body couldn't handle it. Right. And her coming back, Seth trying to help her, and their conversations, and her learning to appreciate what's around her. All of that, and then culminating in the, hey, he gave up eternity for this woman who died the next day, really. And would you have done it, right? If you had known this was going to happen, would you have done it? And his answer is more than just a simple yes. It is, I would rather have these one moment with her than an entire eternity without her. That it touches me in my romantic soul. and I love it. Okay. So that is my really late movie review of City of Angels. Again, this is a movie that speaks to my romantic heart. Okay. Right. And and I will be the first to admit it's probably not for everybody. But for me, this is one of those movies that when I want when I want a love story, but I don't necessarily want the laughs of What Women Want, or You've Got Mail, or Sleepless in Seattle. this is what I go to. And because I feel this one so much deeper than any of those others. Which turns out 2 of those 3 movies also have Meg Ryan in them. So, go Meg. But anyway, let me know what movies do you like? And do you have a romantic movie that you're totally into? Drop a comment either wherever you're at, or join the Discord. I'm happy to talk about all that fun stuff. And until next time, be excellent to each other. And this is Music Free Static signing off.